Big game. Actually, no, we're not going to go into the big games yet. We're not going to go into the big chat yet. Tottenham, trophyless again, Henry. No trophies again.
You had to have a City fan on, didn't you, as well? Yeah, I had to have a City fan.
Of course.
But yeah. Horrendous, mate. Worst performance against Man City in a decade. Like, not good enough. No fight, no desire, no passion, no game plan. Absolutely. Brennan Johnson, by the way. Like, I'll be the only fan to call it out. The guy is absolutely poor. Like, he's horrendous. I don't get what the guy does. Generally, I don't. And, you know, if you say anything about him on Twitter, they just come back and say, leave him alone. He's cute. Like, it's ridiculous. Honestly, I look at Ange Postecoglou's footballing philosophy is about high tempo, high pressing, just non-stop football, right? We couldn't live with Man City. We couldn't live with their press. From minute 1 to, I think it was minute 28, it was relentless. We didn't even have a pass in their final third until after the 25th minute. And before everyone says, oh, but you're playing Man City, we went to the Etihad the month before, scored 3, and had 4 fullbacks in our back 4 with Brian Hill starting. I don't understand what the game plan was. That literally the players, I don't understand Tottenham. Whenever we come into a cup match, whether it's Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, FA Cup, League Cup, it's never the same for the players as it is a league match. I don't understand it. Whenever we go into a cup game, it's like the players just go, I don't really care today. Because Tottenham against Man City, LB will say, you know, there's been games before where they've dominated, but Tottenham have shown fight and desire to go and score goals. We had absolutely nothing. The midfield was, Bentancur was all over the place. The defence, the back 4 was pretty solid, but going forward, the fullbacks didn't invert. The usual stuff that we've seen every other game this season. We just flipped the switch. And if you look at the number side of things, Nuno's performance was better. Conte's Terrace football was better. Jose's football was better. That performance, when you look at the numbers, to have 1 shot in a cup game, we haven't won anything since I was 12 years old and I'm 28 this year. 16 years without winning a trophy. I don't care if it's Man City, Brazil, Real Madrid. To have 1 shot on target the entire game is nothing short of an absolute disgrace. Because let's be real, the last 10 minutes, Man City there was probably a few doubts thinking it will be just our luck for Tottenham to go and nick it at the end, right? But there was nothing from us. Man City, from minute 1 to minute 90, just were in complete cruise control. We didn't threaten them. I mean, Timo Werner made so many runs in behind in the first half.
Pass to him. What's he done to not get a pass?
Kulusevski, I'm thinking, I'm screaming, pass the flipping ball. Timo Werner was running through the middle and at a one-on-one, the ball doesn't find to him. Brennan Johnson, any winger in world football, when he gets that touch, goes around the goalkeeper, wins a penalty. I just do not understand. This attack, by the way, like Richarlison was the only one that actually held the ball up, showed some fight, and actually did a job. Brennan Johnson, we might as well play with no right winger. I mean, the guy is absolutely horrendous. £47.5 million. We've gone to Nottingham Forest and spent big money and not come away with Morgan Gibbs-White. Oh, but he's young. No, he's not. He's the same age as Vinny Jr. He's the same age as Haaland. He's the same age as Saka. No one is saying to me, oh, but Haaland's young. Who cares, mate? He's 22. He's played in a World Cup. He's not a young player. If it was an 18, if it was Dane Scarlett coming off the bench, I'd be like, right, cutting some slack. He's 18. He's not even started a Premier League game. But this is Brennan Johnson, whose goals kept Forest up, got Forest into around mid-table. The guy absolutely stinks. He doesn't have any brain of a winger. He can't take a player on. He can't go round the player. He can't score. He can't create. But because he scored a goal at Wolves, we've got to get off the guy's back. Any elite football club in world football in a cup game shows fight and desire. We were absolutely toothless. We might as well got in a ring with Mike Tyson with our arms tied behind our back. But if you say that, or you say anything that's not going with the flow, you're just negative and just a Conte lover. Or it's just nothing. Let's be real. That is the worst cup performance anyone has seen at home in a long time.
I think all it's shown is just you've not got very good depth.
It's not even
Starting
about
11's fine.
We played a worse team at the Etihad last month and scored 3 goals.
Yeah, it's not about the depth. It's not even about that.
I mean,
That starting 11 wasn't terrible, bro, and they were shocking.
Other than James Maddison, who was on the bench, it was our strongest team we could have played. And Man City went, easy money, see you later. The fullbacks are not going to invert. If we just chuck an extra body in the midfield, they will not be able to live with us. Kyle Walker was heat map. He was basically playing on right wing. And we didn't even see, hang on, there's a space there. Someone getting behind. Timo Werner's making, it's just a disgrace. Like, he's so many runs in behind and he's not being found.
Kate, obviously as a Spurs fan as well, do you agree with that? What Henry's broken down in terms of Johnson, and why was it so bad as well? I'd love to get your take on why it was so poor.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you're the only one to say Brennan Johnson's crap. I think that the majority of the fan base have acknowledged that he's crap. And I think most people are thinking that his future isn't going to lie at Spurs because he just can't cut it. I knew it was going to be tough. We had nothing going forward, no teeth, no one that could score a goal. I mean, Sonny's a massive miss for us, but we need something else up front because there was just no target man. It's ironic that our attack was always the thing that teams were frightened of. We had Kane and Sonny, and everyone was always terrified of our attacking, and we've got nothing now. And yet our defence has sort of solidified itself. But it just showed it was like men playing boys. They were completely different gravy to us. It was just awful to watch. Awful. And I don't think City even got into second gear. I don't know about first gear. And once De Bruyne come on, I knew it was going to be curtains then, but I think we was kind of lucky to just get away with losing 1-0. We've got no creativity. Madison clearly isn't fully fit. I think he touched the ball once and lost it. Kulusevski had a poor game
as well, didn't it? Because they had a lot of chances in that game.
I mean, I don't think since Ange has been here, I think one shot is the worst stat that we've had, because normally we have tons of shots on target or off target but don't score. But I mean, to just have one shot, and you could say, well, yeah, City are a brilliant team, but like I say, they didn't even get out of second gear. We were just appalling. It's like I reckon they'd all been clubbing with Rashford because they all looked lethargic, and it was dreadful. It was one of the worst 95 minutes of my life. I'm not going to lie.
It's quite funny, actually, how that's probably one of our worst performances we've ever played against Spurs, and yet we win. You know what I mean? Where usually we play better than that normally and end up losing. So, yeah, you guys were super disappointed. I thought your midfield was atrocious. Your defence actually was pretty solid. I think Henry spoke on it before. I think like Dozier, Van der Ven, they were class, them two in particular. But your midfield just completely ghosted. And, whilst, you only had one shot on target, I kind of won't blame your attackers for that. I blame your midfield because they just offered the forwards absolutely nothing. Højbjerg, Bentancur, and Kulusevski, just nothing really. You know what I mean? No creativity. They very rarely dominated the ball and sort of took over that midfield. And I agree with your comments on Brennan Johnson. I just do not know what this guy brings to your team. I can't believe you spent 40-odd million quid on him. I don't even know his best position. Is he a striker? Is he a winger? Is he an attacking midfielder?
On the bench. On the bench is his best position, I think.
I can't believe you bought him, man. And this is sort of like and I've had this conversation with people in the past, but this is why I kind of like get annoyed with Spurs from a neutral point of view, because why are they spending that much money on Brennan Johnson? You know what I mean? For me, if you're spending close to 50 million quid, surely you've got to be getting someone who's a bit more proven.
Brennan Johnson, when you look at it, right? When you look at it, West Ham got Kudus for 42 million. Chelsea got Palmer for 40 million. Aston Villa got Diaby for 50 million euro package deal. We have spent 50 million pounds with the bonuses on Brennan Johnson, and he can't beat a fullback. Like every time he gets up against a fullback, he just turns around and passes it back. If you're a left back coming up against him, if Rico Henry is fully fit, hypothetically, in the Brentford game on Wednesday, he's going to be thinking, right, easy day at the office. I've got Brennan Johnson. At least Kulusevski, when he gets close, he cuts in or goes down to the byline, drops a shoulder, can actually cross a football. I don't get, like, Brennan Johnson's strengths running in behind, yet he never runs in behind. Like, I just don't see why we've spent. And if you look at our forwards we've signed in the last 3 years, or like 5 years, notoriously, we are horrendous at signing forwards. Dan Juma, Richarlison at first, 60 million quid. We've done 110 million quid on Brennan Johnson and Richarlison. Actually, let that sink in. Then we've signed Carlos Vinicius. But when it comes to every other, if it's a midfielder or a defender, we're normally spot on the last couple of years. Like Udogie, Van der Ven, Maddison, Bentancur. Whenever it comes to a forward, like Bergwijn, I mean, why is it we might as well go, our scouts go, when it comes to signing a forward, whoever that is, we start opening up the yellow pages and calling the first number. I just don't get what we're doing. And without Son, for probably they're going to go very far in the Asian Cup. We've got to play Everton away, Brentford at home, and Brighton with a front line that's not going to change. So I don't see and if Maddison's not fully fit, Brentford's going to be a struggle because Tony will be licking his lips thinking the spotlight's on me, counter attack like they did he had last year when they won 2-1. He'll be fit. It will be the exact same game plan. It will be copy and paste, and we're going to have big problems. We might as well be flipping Sadio Mane's hairline, mate. We've got something at the back, but there is nothing going forward because that's what the club is at the moment, and it's big problems, mate. And I don't think Brentford will be a walk in the park. I think we're going to struggle.
I want to throw a question out there. I know it's only year one for Big Ange, so there seems to be, and I understand why, a lack of criticism for going out very early in both these cup competitions. And of course, you went out to Man City, which is no embarrassment. Does this put more pressure on him going into year two? Because if he doesn't win one next year, it's 2 years without a trophy. And we all know with Spurs, we spoke about this before, they're not little old Spurs anymore. In terms of income as a club and how much money you're spending, in the last 3 years, you've only spent £27 million less than Man United. Your turnover and income now is in the top 5 in the world. So surely your manager has to be judged like any one of those other big clubs of, yes, you've got to, it's going to take a few years for you to become consistently challenging maybe for the Premier League. But next year, he's got to start being judged on winning trophies. And going out so early this year, is that not going to apply even more pressure to him next year?
Yeah, I think so. 100%. I think he'll get this season where everyone will sort of sit back and go, it's the start of a painful rebuild. That's all I keep hearing. But I think next year the pressure's going to be on. I mean, he basically threw away the League Cup by making 9 changes against Fulham, which I still can't get my head around why he did that. But anyway, I think the pressure will be bang on him next year because Tottenham fans, rightly so, are desperate for silverware. I mean, it's just been ridiculously way too long. And it's the one thing that every club banters us with, because no matter what I say in your chat, no matter what I say on here, no matter what I say on any channel, all I get back is, yeah, but you're Spurs, you never win nothing. And I can't come back with anything because it's true. We don't ever win nothing. And that's got to change. So, yeah, the pressure's got to be on Ange. But we need Levy to back him. Bringing in Brennan Johnson's, Ashley Phillips, that ain't backing him, in my opinion. So it's down to the board as well. But, yeah, I think Ange is going to feel the pressure next year.
Doesn't Ange have quite a big say, though, in the transfers? Because I'm sure I heard him in a press conference once said, a player won't be signed unless I give it the okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the truth, then, yes, you can look at the board and say the board need to do better, but also he's the one who's saying yes. So he's got to take the responsibility like that. Like with Ten Hag, we all know at United, he's the one making the signings. You know what I mean? So he's the one who gets the criticism. If Ange is saying okay and is happy to have these players in, then surely a lot of the blame is on him as well, because he should be going back and saying, no, I don't want Brennan Johnson. No, I don't want this player. Go and get me something else. No? Yep.
It's like I said, though, some people say Ange is not a yes man. Even though I think all managers are a yes man to an extent. If he gives Levy a list of 8 players that he wants and that he gets the 8th player on that list, he's going to turn around and say, well, yeah, I did want him. But what about the 7 that he wanted before that Levy says we couldn't get because they were too much money? Do you see what I mean? There's always a way around it. I don't believe that Ange Postecoglou, with 30 plus years experience in management, scouted the market and found Brennan Johnson and went, yes, that's the one I want for 47.5 million. And if he did, then that's really concerning. If he did, then it is massively concerning, because not only did we overpay, but I've not seen anything so far to suggest he's even worth half of that. So it depends how you look at it. I don't know.
No, on next season, though, it will be... Oh, go on.
No, mate, go on.
I was just going to say, on next season, depending on the summer business, because we desperately need a striker and we desperately need a midfielder other than Maddison that can create something, and probably a fullback who can play left and right back. If we do get all of those and go out the cups early on, like questions have got to be asked because people can accept going out to Man City. Even I understand it's Man City, the best football club in the world, right? But it's the manner of the defeat. But going out to Fulham with 9 changes when we haven't won anything in so long, it's a massive kick in the teeth. If he does the exact same next year, the only thing that saves him is if he gets top 4. But like that's not a trophy. Like, and this is what I was saying earlier. When it comes to these cup matches, these players, I personally feel, literally don't care. If that's a league match against Man City, we go hammer and tong for 90 minutes. It's a dogfight in there. When it comes to a cup match, like when Conte leaves Kulusevski and Harry Kane on the bench at Sheffield United away, or we concede in the 108th minute against Middlesbrough, or we concede 5 goals at Goodison Park, or we lose 1-0 at home to Palace in the FA Cup. When it comes to a cup game, we just don't care. And the argument, the narrative is, a lot of people argue, well, why would the football club care if you're only going to get 2 million quid for winning the FA Cup or 250 grand for winning the League Cup? I don't agree with that narrative, but it's hard. It's hard to look at right now. Whenever it comes to a cup performance, we just throw it in the bin. Yet when it comes to the top 4 race at the end of the season, we go into 5th gear, 150 miles an hour down the M25. You watch, when it comes to April and we've got Liverpool, West Ham, City and Arsenal, you will see us go in the ring, swinging for the fences. Comes to a cup game, we just take a foot off the gas. I don't get it. I can't get it through my head why we just, whenever it comes to a cup game, in these one-off matches, we can't deliver. Yeah, every other football club.
Is it just cup games? I feel like you're like that in certain league games as well. I think it's whenever there is, you have to win Tottenham. That's when the old pooper goes.
Yeah, but look at this season, right? We've gone to the Etihad, we've gone to the Emirates, we've gone to Old Trafford and come away with something.
Yeah,
we've beaten Liverpool and Man United at home.
That's before the major pressure kicks in. And I give an example. I remember, I want to say Poch was your manager still. So a few years back now, you were playing Burnley away. And I remember the big talk in the build-up to that game was, if you'd have beaten and won that game, I think you went into second place. But due to a game in hand you had and having a couple of the big boys at your ground, the league was in your hands to win. And it was a narrative all week that was being discussed. Spurs fans were talking about it online, over the airways. Poch was talking about it in his press conference. Lost to Burnley. And then I think you drew your next game, lost the game after that. And it's almost, as soon as Spurs, like, you get top in the league, oh, wow, what a start. Maybe they could win the league. The arse goes, and you guys fall off. There's genuinely a mentality issue at your club when it comes to having to win cup games, or when suddenly there's pressure put upon you in the league. Outside of the top 4, when it comes to actually maybe winning a trophy, honestly, your arse starts going off like the brass section of a band, mate.
This is what I don't get. Whenever it comes to these one-off games, we just fold.
It has to be a culture. Because you haven't won anything in my lifetime, Tom's lifetime. Literally, since I've been a child, I've never seen Spurs even really come close. Like, you won in 08, but I was 7. I don't even remember that.
Henry, how old were you the last time Spurs won a trophy?
12. I'm 28 this year.
Oh, so you weren't even born when they last won the FA Cup?
No. 33 years without an FA Cup. But this is the thing. Leicester, I know people say, but Leicester in the Championship now. Leicester beat Chelsea in an FA Cup final. Wigan beat Man City in an FA Cup final. Swansea won the League Cup. Portsmouth won the FA Cup. Yep. Why is it whenever we go into a cup game, we just completely fold like a deck chair? Didn't
Portsmouth knock you out in the semis as well?
Yeah, and so Campbell was the trophy.
Kate, you were, when you last won the FA Cup, you were 1 year old the last time you won the FA Cup. Like, you...
Don't try and charm me, Terry. Don't try all that old nonsense.
Listen, sorry, Jim, but if you're watching, mate, I'm not being fresh. I promise, guys. He's bald and looks scary. He does. He looks like Phil Mitchell. He looks a bit like Phil Mitchell, your husband, and I'm a little worried. Do you know what I mean?
He talks like him and all. I'm not going to lie.
What? I can imagine. Where's my dinner? Do you know what I mean? It gives me that vibe.